This is Rob Bisel, a 4-time Grammy-winning producer and engineer and behind some of the biggest hits of the last decade. And these are 160 of my peers from the University of Michigan. This conversation broke down a lot of barriers and built a framework for how long-term music careers are actually built. And what surprised me most from our conversation had nothing to do with the big names he's worked with or his incredible accolades, but the relationships and perspective that got him there, and not networking in the way that most people think.
You see this all the time. A producer has like a big song or something come out, and all of a sudden they're like inundated with like, hey man, we gotta cook up, we gotta like make some ideas. And like you just kind of like learn to like tune that sort of stuff out.
Almost every music producer networking tip that I find on the internet has something to do with finding producers that are tapped in and connected with artists that you want to work with, or seeing who was credited on a recent project that was released. But this is completely contradictory to what Rob just said. And he tells us something really important here too. The big guys see right through it. And it makes sense too.
Like you're not that one person that had the genius idea to send a DM to Rick Rubin. He gets 100 DMs a day.
And that line really explains why this kind of networking doesn't work. From the outside, it could feel strategic, optimistic, or hopeful, but from their side, it just blends into noise. And that's where the conversation took a very important turn. Because of course, Rob wasn't saying don't build relationships. He was just saying that most people try to build them in the wrong direction.
Getting really close with people that are in the same level as you. I see a lot of people when they're trying to network in the music industry, like DM Rob Bisel on Instagram, you know?
That is 1,000% it. One of the other people that I would see booking the studio, the audio studio pretty consistently when I was there, his name's Atu. He's like an awesome producer. I reconnected with him when we were both out in LA after school, and he's like, hey, I'm starting a project with my friend, this awesome singer. The singer's name is Brent Faiyaz. Yeah, I mean, that is networking sideways. Like I got connected with Brent really early on just because like that was my buddy that like was also making beats at the studio at the same time as me.
And when we asked Rob about the right ways and the wrong ways to go about this sideways networking, he said something that really aligned with what I've been thinking about lately.
I get a lot of DMs from people like, hey man, let's work. And it's like, I've never met you. I don't know you. Like I have plenty of people that I love working with that are like some of my best friends. What? That's not a way to like talk to someone.
Yo, let's work. Yo, let's connect. Work on what? And what does connect even mean? And hearing this articulated from somebody at that level really proves how important this is. And this principle is the same for upwards or sideways networking. Even if someone's at the same level as you, sometimes, hey man, let's work, just falls flat. And I broke down the psychology of these first messages in this video right here if you want to go a little bit deeper. So instead of guessing what doesn't work, I wanted to know what does.
We do have a little bit of another perspective because we did email you and you said yes. So
That's good.
Could you tell us a little bit about what was going through your head when you saw our email and made you say yes?
I'm a proud Wolverine. I love Michigan. I would just like think of if you have like some connection to someone, maybe you won't always have that, but just like think of that and think creatively.
The University of Michigan connection was strong enough for Rob to email us back, but you're not always going to have a connection that obvious. Rob says it's important to get creative. Maybe you grew up in the same city as somebody, or you worked in the same studio as them. There's really infinite examples, but the best ones you're not going to find in a YouTube video like this. They're going to be very personal and very sentimental. And even if you get all these things right, a connection can instantly die if you accidentally introduce friction.
Make it as easy as possible, as frictionless as possible. It's like a very long game, and I've been in LA coming up on like 12 years out here, and there's like people I've known for 10 years now. At the time they were like myself, I was like scrubbing toilets. People I know from those days are now like big dogs out here, like doing like awesome stuff, like some of the biggest records, and it's like, I can trust you because we've known each other since very, very, very humble beginnings. We share the same values.
One thing that really stuck with me from this conversation is how much of a long game this actually is. Rob talks about how the people that he trusts the most now are the ones that he's known for over 10 years, from back before anything happened, because there's shared history and shared values there. And he went on to make this really important point.
You spend enough time here, like you will see people that you started with, and hopefully yourself too, doing really awesome stuff. You can tell like who has like the same values as you and who's just trying to like use you as like a stepping stool to get to where they want to go.
And what's really interesting is literally right after this event, a lot of people came up wanting to connect, wanting to cook up. Some even asked for Rob's email. And it kind of clicked for me why this can start to feel transactional before there's any shared history. And I don't think that this makes anyone a bad person at all. I just think that it shows how easy it is to try and skip the long game before you really realize how important it actually is.
I think you kind of develop like a sixth sense for that, and like you just kind of like learn to tune that sort of stuff out.
That line really hits because I think that this sixth sense can only really come with time. It's about recognizing patterns, who was around before anything happened, who's already building on their own, and who only shows up when there's something to gain. The people that really matter in this industry weren't the ones that showed up after something popped off. They were the ones that were already there before anything happened. And we play this long game to build genuine relationships and trust with people that share the same values as us, but it also teaches some very important lessons.
I was not some sort of like overnight success, and I remember seeing people I knew early on just explode. I remember being like so jealous to develop the work ethic, and you don't fully form like a vision for yourself, or you don't know how to handle bumps in the road. And now I'm like so grateful that it took me a second to kind of like get more or less where I want to be. I learned how to work really hard. I got to see what it takes. I saw the people that built success and maintained it, and I saw like kind of what that looks like.
When reflecting on his journey, Rob was grateful for his slow burn, long run growth because it taught him some really important things like work ethic and how to handle bumps in the road along the way. If he had blown up or gotten in super big rooms really quickly, he may not have had the experience necessary to handle himself professionally. Think about all the producers and engineers that may find themselves in this situation.
That me sound like I'm in a shed somewhere. I want my money back before I leave up at the studio. Matter of fact, my money back.
And you can really take a hit to your reputation and your confidence. But the mechanism that allows people like Rob to be ready for that moment is actually a lot simpler than you think.
Today is like my day off, and the first thing I did today when I woke up was like I practiced piano for like 30 minutes and like played drums for a little bit. You know, you just see people that like achieve at like a high level, and you're like, yeah, it's a lot of like micro moments. They could be out partying or playing video games or whatever. Instead, you like choose, I'm just gonna put in a little work here.
It may seem like a cliche or a cop-out, but we just heard a 4-time Grammy-winning producer say that he still spends 30 minutes a day practicing piano on his day off. And this can be surprising or pretty obvious. I mean, the guy's in studios every day with A-list artists. Of course he'd want to improve, right? But we can extrapolate something deeper from this. It's not that he practices because he's successful, it's that he may have never gotten to that point without the daily habits. And the scary part is, for most of those years of daily micro work, nobody cares. There's no applause for practicing piano for 30 minutes. There's no follows, placements, or validation of any kind. And most people quit here. So if you're gonna survive that phase, you need to be operating on something that doesn't require permission.
It's much more of an open race now than it's ever been. I think that's actually like, in many ways, a very inspiring thing. Just make good music with like people that you like and you believe in, like they have as good of a shot as anyone, like legitimately.
Rob says that it's an open race, so why are you standing still? Why are you waiting for someone bigger than you to validate you before you even start building? No one knows what could be a hit 1 year from now. For decades, there were huge barriers to entry in the music industry. Labels held the key to success through marketing budgets, radio play, touring, and distribution. But it's not like that anymore. We live in an era where you can record a beat or song on your phone, shoot a video with the same phone, and upload it to the world for free. There's no rational reason to wait for anyone. The only thing that's holding you back from starting is yourself. Here's Rob quoting legendary record producer Rick Rubin. And later in the video, we're gonna break down step by step exactly how he got a job at Rick's studio.
I never once heard the words from his mouth, the words Grammy, platinum, #1, charts. Like, that guy does not care about it. He's just trying to make music that he wants to listen to, that he enjoys, and like, it's worked out pretty well for him. I'd say when it comes to making music, like, I'd say just focus on making good music that resonates with you, and that's like the only barometer that really means anything anymore.
And this part doesn't always make sense until you see it happen, but your creation without permission actually makes it way easier to connect with people that are further along than you. Because when you're building something real and you actually get the chance to be in one of these conversations, it shifts from, can I work with you, to here's what I've been building. And that shift makes the context of the conversation very different for the other person. Instead of an empty request, it becomes a shared experience. And shared experiences are where these real relationships are formed. But just building something isn't enough. What you build and how you show up matter just as much. And this is where most people get it wrong, because once you're finally in that room, the goal isn't to prove how talented you are. It's to make the experience or outcome better for everyone else.
People get all caught up in like, oh, I gotta impress my producer friend with all the bells and whistles and stuff, but like you're there to serve. Like you are in the service industry, believe it or not.
The producers that get called back aren't necessarily the ones with the best sidechain compressor with the best ratio and threshold, and that may be really important, but it's not what resonates with everyday artists. They remember how the experience made them feel.
There are producers who have made a career out of just having like a very comfortable house to work in with like amazing snacks. And you think I'm joking, but like I am not, because like people can go and work anywhere and with anyone, but if they like felt comfortable and they felt like they had a good time, like that is huge.
There's literally thousands of producers and engineers that can make a radio-ready track for any artist. But the ones that are constantly finding themselves back in these big rooms with these important people are there because they make the artist feel seen, respected, welcomed, and actually make their vision come to life. And this obviously doesn't mean that the product that you're creating doesn't matter, because here's what Tate McRae had to say about Rob's mixing.
Your like vocal effects or vocal processing is like untouched by someone else. I'm like, I'll take that.
And that's a quote that comes from feeling, not technicality. She said that Rob's processing was untouched because she loved the way that she heard herself on that track. And that really breaks down the true job of a music producer. It's not to make the best beats or run the most sessions. It's to make the artist feel like the best version of themselves on that record. Because when they do, they don't just remember the song. They remember how the experience made them feel and who helped them get there. And this isn't just about studios. This could be for any creative collaboration or partnership. Rob wasn't chasing Grammys or placements. He was actually sitting in a coffee shop, sending cold emails, just trying to get closer to the process.
I hit this dude up and like asked him if he has any opportunities. He's like, yeah, I'm actually mixing something at my house right now. And at the time I was like sitting in a coffee shop sending emails. He's like, well, if you can meet me at my house in like 15 minutes. And he happened to be like literally a mile from the coffee shop that I was at. So I pack up my laptop, grab my backpack, right there. We super hit it off. I asked him, like, can I be your like assistant or something? And he's like, I don't like need that, but I can get you a job at Shangri-La Studios, which is like Rick Rubin's studio. I didn't make the connection that like all the projects that Dana did were like Rick produced projects and that he was like Rick's engineer.
Rob didn't try to skip steps. He became embedded in the ecosystem and made everybody else's experience smoother.
He gets me like a job there as like an intern, and then I became a runner and like an assistant there. I think just like seeing the way Rick worked, it just reminded me like being a music producer can come in like so many different forms.
And when you operate like that, when your goal isn't to impress but to serve, something else happens. You begin to see how this all fits together in one big picture, in an identity that cannot be detached.
I mean, yeah, I came from a hike just before this. Get outside, exercise on it every day. And then also realizing you don't have to fill your calendar with stuff every day of the week. If you're like not there mentally, like be easy on yourself. Like understand this is like a long race. It's not like a sprint. But like doing non-musical things for me is like awesome. I really like yoga. Remember that there's like a world outside of music.
I think that might be the most underrated piece of advice from the whole night. Not because hikes are fun or exercise is good for you, but because it shows how this really all fits together. If this really is a long race, then who you become while you're running matters way more than any single song. The long game isn't only about relationships and career growth, but it's about character. Building without permission isn't just about momentum, but self-trust. And serving the artist isn't just about collab opportunities, it's about humility. If your entire identity is tied up in your next placement, your next session, or your next cosign, you'll burn out so quickly. But if you root your identity in the way that you work, the way that you treat people, and the way that you show up every single time above and beyond, the results just become a byproduct. And that's my biggest takeaway from this experience with Rob. So the question isn't, what do I do to succeed? It's, how can I align my identity with the values that inevitably lead to success? And that's not a question that I can answer in one video, but it is what this channel is about. How producers and artists actually build leverage in today's market, what works, what doesn't, and how to stop competing in ways that are stacked against you. And if that way of thinking makes sense, make sure to subscribe and stick around because I'm right here talking about it every single week.